despierto con un motivo, caminar junto a ti. He decidido vivir mi vida contigo. Me levantas con nuevas fuerzas y me das libertad. Soy joven por siempre en ti, tú eres mi fuente. Como el sol brillando en majestad, en color transformó la oscuridad. Nuevo soy, encontré mi identidad. Vida tú me das. Vida tú me das. Tú me guías en cada paso. Suficiente es tu amor. No existe mejor decisión que darte mi vida, Señor. Como el sol brillando en majestad, en color transformó la oscuridad. Nuevo soy, encontré mi identidad. Vida tú me das. Vida tú me das. Tu amor me lleva mucho más allá de lo que yo puedo imaginar. A tu libertad yo puedo entrar. Eres todo lo que quiero y más. Como el sol brillando en majestad, en color transformó la oscuridad. Nuevo soy, encontré mi identidad. Como el sol brillando en majestad, en color transformó la oscuridad. Nuevo soy, encontré mi identidad. Vida tú me das. Vida tú me das. Tu amor me lleva mucho más allá de lo que yo puedo imaginar. A tu libertad yo puedo entrar. Eres todo lo que quiero y más. And I close my eyes to see my King in majesty. Your grace compels my soul to love and draw it close. And I lift my hands and sing, surrender everything. In you I know I'm found. My God, to you I bow. Now till forever, Jesus, I surrender. Show me what I don't know, more of you. I'm desperate for your presence, longing to be with you. Lead me to a new place, more of you. Come on, you sing. Through the fire, I'll persevere. trust, and all my trust is in you, Lord. Now until forever, Jesus, I surrender. Show me what I don't know, more of you. I'm desperate for your presence, longing to be with you. Lead me to a new place, more of you. Now until forever, Jesus, I surrender. Show me what I don't know, more of you. I'm desperate for your presence, longing to be with you. Lead me to a new place, more of you. Lead me to you forever, Lord. I will pursue. I will pursue. You've won my heart, Jesus. You're all that I want. All that I want, Lord. Lead me to you forever, Lord. I will pursue. I will pursue. You've won my heart, Jesus. You're all that I want. just for a glimpse of you, girl. I'll wait for you, girl. When I was searching, your love was never far. You made a way to get to me. You were the whisper leading me to your heart. Forever I belong to you. Now I can see clearly, my God, you for me. You won't let go. Your love won't let me down. And I know it's true. Yeah, I know that your love is all around. I believe in you, holding on to you, holding on, and I know you will never fail. I want all of you, you never change. Your love won't let me down. Love won't let me down.
Oh, wow, we're already starting. Okay, sweet.
Oh, whoa.
I didn't realize how much time we had left on the countdown. Should I do welcome? Do you want me to do welcome? Okay. Welcome, everybody, to our live stream. Sorry. And for those of you in-house, welcome. Super happy to have you guys here, and super excited for tonight. It's not going to be nearly as weird of a subject as last week, where last week we talked about sex. So we're not talking about that this week. It's a lot easier and a lot less I have to listen to this. So this week we're going to be talking about kind of how we integrate our faith life into our everyday life, or our everyday life into our faith life. How can we organize it? Because strangely enough, that's one of the more prominent questions we've gotten over the past few months since we started was I'm really busy and I don't have time to do my devos. I'm really busy. I don't have time to pray, And so it's just today, I guess we're going to be talking about prioritizing that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. Thoughts?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah?
To talk about it, because obviously, a lot of people struggle. I know sometimes I struggle with trying to, have, be prominent in my faith, but also being, timid because I'm scared to be judged by others or whatnot. I feel, especially when I was, in post-secondary, because, well, I am still in post-secondary, but with, when you're around people that are not normally going to church, and then you talk about your faith, that you just feel sometimes awkward. So.
Yeah. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you have any questions, please send them to us. Send them, DM them. You could comment on our Instagram posts or post. I think we're live on. No, we're not.
Yeah, we're live on YouTube.
We're live on YouTube.
Yeah.
Comment on YouTube, whatever. For those of you who are here, if you have a question, you can do that as well. And when you ask us a question, we record who asks the question, and you can win a sick prize. We're giving away these things
Oh, look
at
at
the end of
that.
the month.
What
They're
a beauty.
these sweet lights that run off an app.
Yeah.
they're
And all
pretty
you have to
sick.
do is ask a question.
Yeah.
And that's all you have to do. And
ask
your
us a
name is put in the
question
draw.
That's pertinent, or that kind of pertains to what we're talking about. It can't just be any question, but I
Yeah.
mean any question that's about what we're talking about.
Let's be more specific here.
Yeah, it can't be Josiah, have you ever played Call of Duty before?
Yeah. No, that doesn't count.
The answer is yes, but And yeah, That's, I think that's all of our housekeeping stuff.
Yeah, all the housekeeping
All the
stuff.
housekeeping stuff. We have some like other specific things for those who are here. So
Yeah.
if you're watching only online and you're like, what are they doing after the Devo? Well, it's a secret, and you're gonna have to come to find out. So
Yeah, I guess you're gonna have to come in person or something.
yeah,
Or text your friends and being like, hey, what are we doing?
yeah. Anyways, so how do we integrate our faith life into our everyday life?
Mm-hmm.
How do we kind of, create, like, I guess, a schedule where we can, how do I put it? Like, where it isn't like difficult for us when we're busy to build our relationship with God, you know?
Mhm.
And why is it important to do that, you know? Because I feel like sometimes when we don't understand why it's important, then we just don't do it, you know? I mean, that's how my brain thinks. If I don't think something's important, it will never get done.
Yeah.
So that's why I ignore a lot of Amy's texts. When she's like, Josiah, I need you to do things.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
true.
No.
He always leaves me on red.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's a lie. I'm just using that as an example. It's not true.
Yeah, okay. My text messages show otherwise. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So, why is it important? I'm going to actually pose this to you, Amy. Why is it important that like we have a faith life and our faith life and our public life are like kind of connected, you know?
Well, for me, I think it's important because like I was in the mind frame of like, oh, I shouldn't like talk about my faith too much, especially going to like a post-secondary that is like basically public, so like Nate. Because I was like, oh, I don't want people thinking I'm weird and I don't want them to cast me out and I don't want, people to be biased about my opinion and being like, oh, she's always going to say something like that because she's Christian or whatever. So, and I always was very like confused on how I should talk and basically live my life when it came to those types of things. And I realized that I was like living two different lives, and that was not healthy, and it wasn't fun to not be yourself and not to be authentic of who you are. So for me, I think it's important to talk about God, and it's important to, sorry, I'm getting so distracted. There's so many people coming in. Wow, hello everyone.
What's up?
We like started it very empty, and now we're very, wow, that is so awesome. Hi, everyone. Shh, we're talking here. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Hello. Okay, anyways, what I was saying is that I think it's important to have your like faith and like, I guess your outside life, like your friend group life, together and cohesive, because you never know that you are the person that might speak Jesus into their lives. And that's something I had to remind myself, especially because there is a friend that I have, and she's not a believer. And she was so intrigued of how I lived my life and how I was talking. And she was so like fascinated about how I would talk about God and my relationship with God and about praying. And she was saying, she's like, it doesn't sound like a responsibility. It just sounds like a regular relationship. And I told her, I'm like, that's exactly what it is. And she was just so inspired by that. And ever since that conversation happened, I was like, you know what? I can speak God's love into someone's life. And that's so important. And that's what we're called to do, is to make disciples, basically, right? So, yeah, that's why I think it's important.
Yeah, I find like when I tend not to do that, and like when I'm around people who aren't in the church or are part of the church, or like who don't share like my faith, and I kind of keep God out of it, I tend to like act like them, and I'm like, I shouldn't be acting like them, but I am. And then when I get back to like God, I'm like, God, Jesus, you know? and, and I have like almost like this double life.
Yeah.
And I find that like when that happens, I get more anxious. And it's just like I have this anxiety, and like part of me is like, I want to be accepted by these people. And then the other part of me is like, but God should be important. And so I find I end up like with this weird anxiety that isn't like normal. I don't know how, does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so like, I know, and I also find that when I'm not worried about those things about like how I look in front of people, or like, I guess if like people think like I'm weird because I love Jesus, I find that it's easier to organize things. Like, not organize in the sense I have like, well, yeah, kind of, in the sense I have like this here, this at this time, this at this time, but it's just like, I consider it a priority, so it just so happens to get done. Kind of like when you get a homework assignment and you're like, I have to get done, but like I have to get it done. Maybe a homework assignment's like, I have to get it done. But I have to get it done, so it gets done no matter what. But like when it comes to like God and like reading the Bible and doing my devotions and praying, it's like almost like second nature. It's like, I get this done, and like my day is already set, you know? Or whenever you do it, you know? But I also don't think it should end in the morning. I mean, the Bible talks about like, it says to pray unceasingly, which is like, do I pray all the time? Like, or like, do I just like never stop praying? But like, I really feel like it's all about like when we go into doing things, we go into it with God's like insight. We're like I'm gonna go to class. I'm like, God can like help me focus. Or I'm trying to listen to that annoying guy on stage on a Monday night. Like, God, give me focus so I don't fall asleep, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I feel like it's kind of like. But yeah, I guess like in your life, Amy, or I guess you kind of already explained like how you sort of integrate it with your friends. But like, how does it kind of like play out in your daily schedule, where you're including God throughout the day? Because we talked about like prayer once before, and like when we kind of pray, but like never really talked about like, I kind of never thought about it, but I include God in this part and like this little part, you know?
I don't know. That's a little harder to answer. I feel like now my conversations are a lot easier just because I work at a church, so I kind of just like bring God in that way. So I feel like that's kind of cheating.
I'll give you points for that.
But I don't know, like, it's kind of, I'm trying to like think back on like before I was working here, and I think I don't even know. Like, that's a hard question, because it's like, I kind of was just like more conscious about my words and what I said and how I said it and how it affected people, because like I wasn't shy about me not being, or for me being Christian. So like everyone in my friends group know that I'm Christian and know that I went to a Christian school and I go to church, so on and so forth. So I wasn't shy about it. But I think it was more of my actions and like how I approach certain things was really, I don't want to say like throw people off, but almost like threw people off, because like there's many instances where I would have like a really bad day, and a lot of people would be expecting me to like freak out and swear and whatever, and then I would just like brush it off and be calm about it. And like a lot of my friends are like, how are you so calm? And I'm like, I don't know, I just am. Like one time at school, my laptop was stolen. And like, yeah, I was pretty upset, but I was just so calm at that point And I just like went throughout my school day and was just like, I just got to calm down. And like my friends were shocked on how calm I was, because it was like it was a new laptop that I got, and it was pretty pricey, and I was just absolutely calm, and my friends were like shocked on how calm I was. Like I just kind of was just like, you know what, it's fine, things happen, and it's gonna be taken care of. And my friends were just like shocked.
Yeah.
Again, like so shocked on how I reacted. And I really believe that how you act is how people will perceive you. And then people question on like, what's so different about this person and why are they so different? And then they become interested and want to know more about you. And then that gives you an opportunity to express yourself. That's how I think it is anyway. That's how I feel, and I think that should be for everyone. Like, try to be as soft-spoken as you can be with that. Like, be Jesus, basically.
Yeah.
And just like be like him. And the more you're like him, the more people want to gravitate toward you and understand why are you like that. Like, it's almost like a curiosity kind of thing when you're just when you act in Jesus' love and you show Jesus' love, that people are like, why is that person weird? you know?
Well, it's kind of like, I find it's kind of like I heard a quote, and I think it was, tell me, or show me your like 5 best friends, and I'll show you the person you'll become. And so I think it's along those lines. And like when we spend time with Jesus, when we spend time with God and put time into that relationship with him, kind of like what you're saying, like kind of we become more like Jesus. It's when we prioritize that relationship, we start becoming more like God. We start becoming more like Jesus in the way we act, in the way we talk to people, in the way like we treat others, and honestly, like we become better people because of our relationship with God, and because we put time into that. And I mean, like sometimes, like any relationship, it's not easy. Sometimes you really have to think about it. Sometimes you got to be like, I mean, if you have like a boyfriend or girlfriend, you got to put time into that relationship. You want to get to know the person more. If you want to figure out whether or not, like maybe one day you might want to get married to them, or maybe if you just want to break up, you got to put time into that relationship, and you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's not something you can just set aside for like nothing. And so same thing with God. It's when we put time into that relationship, we see things happen in our lives. But yeah, I understand it's not always easy. And sometimes it's just like you just feel so busy that you can't do it. But like learning how to incorporate God into like those little moments throughout the day, learning how to be like, okay, God, I'm trusting you in this. And sometimes it's just a couple words. Sometimes it's a couple thoughts. Sometimes, you got to give God those good vibes and go on your way,
Yeah.
And then come back to him and repeatedly do it. Don't just kind of leave him hanging. Nobody likes to be left, on the curb. So
Yeah.
I kind of find like in my life, that's sometimes how it shows up when I'm really busy is like every little moment I get. It's just like, okay, God, I know you're here. God, I just want to trust you with this. Okay, let's go. Or like when you get excited, being like, God, something awesome happened today. I mean, like he already knows what happened, but he really gets excited about like when we tell him that. Yeah.
Do you think it's like a sin to feel shy about your faith? Like, when you're put in this, like, I don't know if you've ever been in this predicament where you're just put in this situation and you're like, I don't know if I should talk about my faith.
All the time. Like, when I started here, I was so afraid of speaking in front of people. Like, absolutely terrified. And I remember the first time I spoke at youth, this was like when I was still in youth. So I would probably been like grade 11, grade 12-ish. I remember I was like standing there like with the mic like kind of like just in front of my face and kind of like shaking and being like, God. And man, it's, I feel like everybody at first is afraid. And I feel like you never really get over it. You always have this fear, no matter what, that they're going to be like, you're dumb, go away, or like, you're weird. But then like the worst thing they could say is no. Usually the worst thing they could say is no, unless they have a very wide vocabulary. But, the worst thing they could do is reject you, depending on where you are. But that's a totally other topic.
How about you guys? Okay, those who are watching, give me a thumbs up if you feel sometimes you're shy to be bold in faith.
Ooh, that's a good one. But I know I'm like,
Seems like a lot of you. So we're all on the same page, I feel. Yeah.
yeah,
And those online, give us a thumbs up if you are sometimes shy to be bold in your faith.
mhm. And even to this day, I feel like sometimes like I get really nervous when I come up and speak. Like I'll be like before like we start live stream, I'll be kind of like, oh my gosh, I don't know, like is it gonna turn out good? Is it not gonna turn out good?
Right, yeah.
And yeah, I feel like that's a feeling that we don't get over, or that we don't get rid of. But I feel like when we do it, it's so much more rewarding. Like I don't know how to, and that's something I don't know how to explain. It's like I feel like God's happy with me, and therefore I should be happy, and so I am happy that I did it. I never regret it. I don't think I can regret it in a sense, because like I just shared like a little bit of Jesus' love with somebody, and that's what God calls me to do, is to share his not his little love, his big love with everybody. And in the Bible, I know like when God called people to do something, when God asked people to do something, like in the book of Joshua, when he asked this guy named Joshua, that the book is named after, to go and like into the promised land, he says, be courageous. Josh, be courageous, I'm with you. Be courageous, I'm with you. Josh, be courageous. And like, I just think when we're going to tell people about God, God is saying that. God is saying, be courageous, I'm with you. Like, I'm not going to leave you behind. You're not going on your own. I'm with you. If they say no, they say no. Doesn't matter. I didn't leave you. So I think that's really important to understand. Yeah. Did we get any questions yet? No questions?
No.
Yes questions?
No,
No
there's
questions. That means
no one
nobody's-
wants the prize, I guess.
I guess nobody wants the prize.
Oh, wait, someone had a question.
Oh,
Oh,
unfortunately,
guess
we only
no
do
one
questions.
wants the prize. That's awkward, because I
That
guess
is
I'm
kinda
taking
awkward,
home the prize.
But,
Oh, okay, Alan
Oh.
has a question.
Alan, you have a question? What is God's view on war? It's a good question, but for another time. That is a good question, because there is quite a bit to say about that. But that's also a little bit off, by a little bit I mean quite a bit off of our subject. Yeah. Oh, I know something that people can like type in. If they have a particular like way where they connect with God on the regular, that isn't just like I spend like 2 minutes in my morning praying. Like, how do you guys incorporate God into your life? Send that to us on a YouTube comment, on whatever,
Yeah.
so we could see it, share it, comment on it.
How do you connect with God?
How do I connect with God? I feel like I kind of shared it, like where like when I'm busy and I'm getting into things, and I'm like, and sometimes I feel like I'm a little bit busy, but I still have that time where I could be like, okay, God, going in this with you, you got this, it's all you and not me.
Yeah.
I don't have to freak out. But yeah, how about you?
I think I normally do that when I'm like, when I'm cleaning.
Yeah?
When I'm like cleaning my room or just cleaning the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
That's like my me time. So it's usually when God will just talk in my head and be like, hey, what you doing?
Yeah.
How you doing? So, yeah.
Oh, I know something else I like to do when I'm like, because I like to paint some things or paint a little bit. And so like sometimes I'll put on like an audio Bible or like I'll put on some like worship music and I'll include God in that time. Because it like, I don't know, I feel like God wants to do things with us that we enjoy. I mean, he calls us to go do things like bring Jesus, the gospel to people, but I feel like God also wants to spend like those like little intimate moments with us.
Yeah.
I know I don't just feel this, I know this. You know, it's not just a feeling. But yeah.
That's so true because like sometimes when, sometimes I like put like a Sunday service on while I do my makeup because sometimes putting on makeup's a chore for me. So I just like put it on, I put the Sunday service on and I just do my makeup and listen to it. And it's like, I actually got like into it really, I think it was like a couple Sundays ago where I just like put the Sunday service on my phone, did my makeup, and then I started crying because like the message was so powerful. And I'm like, great, now I got to do my mascara again. But yeah, but sometimes I do,
Okay.
yeah. Sometimes I like just put it on while I'm doing my makeup too.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, I do like listening to like sermons and stuff too, because I feel like the Holy Spirit really speaks through people, like or likes to speak through people, and that's one of the ways that God likes to talk to us is through other people, you know. And so,
There's lots of comments coming through.
oh,
Okay, so there is a question that says, how can I feel more confident with my faith around others who aren't Christian?
okay, that's a good one.
That is a very good one. I feel for me, when I did it, like I kind of spoke about it earlier, but for me, I just like kind of tried to like have that phrase in my head of like, what would Jesus do? And then just like live by that, especially when I'm like really frustrated or stressed. And I think prayer is also helps you go a long way because God will strengthen you in those moments, I feel, because when he knows your life, he knows the people you interact with, he knows everything. So I feel that when you ask for God's guidance, he will like automatically give that to you, and he will automatically give you that grace, those words and those actions you do around those people that need to see it. If that answers the question. I don't know. How about you, Josiah?
I sometimes like, especially when I wasn't used to doing it, like sharing my faith, I find that like lots of times even now, actions speak louder than words. People
Yeah.
pay attention to the way you act more than the way you talk. So like, and even then, if you're like always talking about Jesus and how awesome he is, but then your life doesn't reflect that, people will not like believe you. They'll be like, oh, like that's like this person's still not like, you know, they're not living out what they're talking. And so I find that when we start by living out what we believe, it helps later when we talk about it, when people ask us. And sometimes like when we live it out, people do ask us, you know, about like why do you do this?
Yeah.
Like why do you kind of stop and like close your eyes before you eat?
Yeah.
You know, like to pray, and you could be like, oh, well, I just take time to thank God for my food. Or when they're like if they ever like sleep over or whatever, like why do you stop for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes before like you go to bed, before you actually like decide you want to fall asleep or like go to bed? Like, oh, I use that time to like thank God for my day. Or like if you're reading your Bible or have a Bible app on your phone or whatever, like, oh, what's that? I'm like, oh, it's the Bible, you know? Like, this is part of what I believe.
Okay.
I find incorporating, like, living it out is sometimes a lot more effective than just talking about it.
That's true.
Oh, that's awkward.
Oh. So there's another question. Okay, so it's normally be when I feel more of fear or stress than calm. I tend to forget that God is there when I'm crying and supporting me in everything I do. I think that's more of a question. That's awesome. It's good that to always feel reminded that God is with you in all emotions, not just your sadness and your anger, you know? Because I don't know, for me, I always forget that I need to be reliant on God when I feel sad and when I feel angry, or even when I'm happy or sad. Like for all my emotions, I feel like I tend to forget to rely on God with all my emotions, and it's kind of funny that way because it's like I don't know. I just find it so funny when I can't rely on God with all my emotions, especially when I'm upset or mad or sad. I don't know. I just find it funny. And it's good when people can do that. Oh, we have another question.
Okay.
How do I feel more connected to God when I feel like I'm alone and there's no one there to help me out? How do I even know He's there?
That's a good question. How do we know He's there? I know, like, when we look at what the Bible says, He promises us that we're with Him, or that He's with us. He promises us in those times where we don't feel Him that He's still there. He's still there, even though we can't feel Him like present. I know in my life, like, where I've gone through times where I don't feel like God's close, and like God does tell us that there will be times where we don't feel like He's there. That's a given. That's just part of life. But like, those are the times where He wants us to pursue Him the most. Those are the times where He wants us to be like, to go out of our way to be like, at the end of the day, just sit down and be like, thank you, God, for today. Thank you so much for like what you're doing. Like, you are awesome, you know, like, and continually pray and continually to like, and the Bible talks about drawing close to Him, to get closer with Him, to pursue Him, to seek Him. And it's not easy. Those are the times like when we kind of want to give up a little bit.
Yeah.
But like when we persevere, when we push forward, I think like when we do feel God, we feel even closer with Him. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I also think, like, to answer the question of how do I feel more connected with God, I think it's through the passions that you have. I solely know that the passions that you're given, the talents that you're given, is because God has given it to you. And I think that's how you feel connected to God, is when you do something. Let's say you're playing piano, and you love playing piano, and that's something that you like doing. And I think that's how you feel connected to God, is when you do a quick prayer before or after when you play, and then just thank God for what He has given you, and to be I feel like really that's how you can feel connected with God, is when you're doing something that you love, whether it's playing sports, whether it's playing an instrument, whether it's hanging with friends or whatever, like anything that you feel that you're passionate about. I think that is how you are connected with God. And by just doing like a quick prayer before and after your hobby, that's how you can really feel connected with God. But yeah. Anyways, there's this couple comments. Sometimes when I'm stressed about this one thing, I beg to God for help, but I always feel like He doesn't really help. Like maybe He's helping, but I just don't see it. And I usually think maybe I'm not praying a proper way, and that's where He wouldn't help me out, because I'm praying the wrong way. I feel like that sometimes. I really do. Like there's been multiple times where I would pray about something and then it wouldn't happen. But then, like either months, weeks, or days later, I realized why he didn't answer my prayer. Like a great example is I applied for a job prior to this one, and I wanted that job because it was like my dream job. I wanted it so bad. And I prayed over and over again, and I didn't get it. And I was crushed because I'm like, well, I've worked here before. Why didn't I get this job? It would have been easy peasy for them to hire me. And then I was just so frustrated, and I was like, whatever, I'll just brush it off. God knows what's best, I guess. And that was literally my attitude. And I just brushed it off, and I was like, whatever. And then I realized months later, after I applied, that the culture within the work organization was very toxic. So if I were to work there, I would not be happy. And I found that out months after I prayed about it and forgot about that job. So I really believe that it's just about God's timing and what he has planned for you. And there's a reason for all of that. So I know it's hard to be like, ugh, but God.
Yeah.
Because trust me, there has been times where you could just be like, ugh, but God, I know what's best for my life. But I think you just kind of have to just let go and just let it be. Because I don't think there's no wrong way to pray. It's just like talking to anyone. There's no wrong way to talk to anyone, you think?
Unless you're insulting them.
Yeah. Yeah, just don't insult God.
Don't be like,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's not a, yeah,
That was
okay.
the first thing that just came to my head when he said that there's no wrong way to talk to anybody.
Yes, I mean, don't insult him. But yeah.
But I think I think, and by like insulting, I mean like going out of your way to like put somebody down or like put God down. I think there's instances like where we're angry with God. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being angry. God gave us the emotion. God feels anger. God gave us sadness and all these other wonderful emotions. And there's nothing wrong with expressing it to God. But I think like at the end of the day, what he wants us to do is to trust him with them.
Yeah.
You know? At the end of the day, what he wants us to do is to trust him with everything, with all of ourselves. And I think that's the really important thing. It's not about this right way to pray with all these like thys and like thous. You know,
Yeah.
oftentimes I find my most intimate times of prayer with God are these times where where it's nothing grand, like, no, I'm not saying like big words. I'm literally talking to him like how I would talk to anybody else.
Yeah.
And so I find that's really important.
Awesome. Okay, so this is the last question, and
Okay.
Josiah, this is going to be for you because
okay.
I don't know how to answer this one.
Uh-huh.
Is it a sin to listen to music that has cuss words in them? Would it drift you away from God?
Okay. Well, you know what? This is a great question for next week. Because next week we're going to be talking about media. And like, should we consume media that has swear words? Should we consume media that's inappropriate? I'm not talking about like porn. I'm talking about like TV shows we just watch. You know? And so I'm going to save that question for next week.
Awesome.
Can you like send it to me so I could like write it down
Yes.
and be like make sure I like answer this question? So,
Yes. Okay.
great question.
Yeah.
All these questions were good questions.
Good job, guys. I'm
Guys,
very proud of you guys. Hit it on the last
I
minute,
am
but that's
too.
all good.
Yeah. And I think we're going to do like a little bit of like application, I guess, a 1, 2, 3, like 3 steps to how we can incorporate God into our lives. And then we're going to finish with the that'll be the end of the Devo. And once we end the Devo, that's going to be the end of the live stream. And for those who are here, we're going to do something else. So, yeah. So 1, how can we apply what we're talking about? How can we apply practically incorporating God into our lives? You know, one way is to schedule, I know this is going to kind of sound weird, but like schedule a date with God. Not like a date like, as in like a date like with a boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, but like kind of like making an appointment. I don't know, because when I make an appointment with God, I tend to keep it, you know. And God, like in my head, it puts like this expectation on me that like, okay, I told God I was going to meet Him here at this time, this place, so I got to do it, you know. I don't want to leave God waiting. So that's a really easy way of doing it. 2, I find in incorporating God into like my life, learning how to prioritize Him. There's like a really great like object lesson to this, where there's like a jar with sand, pebbles, and like bigger rocks, and you put like the bigger rocks, and those are the important things, and then the pebbles are the second most important, and the least important is the sand, and kind of like how when it's done in the right order, it all just fits.
Right.
You know, when we learn how to schedule God, well, not schedule God, but like when we learn how to like prioritize God, everything just, I don't know, somehow it just falls into place. Total God thing. And then 3, atmosphere. Sometimes like I have a really hard time getting into God because I'm not in the right atmosphere. Like if I'm at home and like I'm listening, maybe I'm watching a TV show, it's kind of hard to read the Bible when you're watching a TV show, or it's like kind of hard to get into like prayer if you have like distracting music on. Sometimes like if I want to pray, I'll dim the lights a little bit. I might put on some worship songs before, and I'll worship God a little bit, and then I'll turn it down and pray. But honestly, building that atmosphere, I find really helps. Yeah.
I
Any
agree.
final comments?
Nope.
No?
I think you covered that all pretty well.
Sweet. Sounds good. That's the end of our Devo for today. We're going to get on to grand things.
Okay. Well, those who are online, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, so we'll see you next Monday. Oh, that's a zoomed up shot.
Bye.
Of Awesome. Okay, awesome.
Sweet.